All right, so uh, we've got a ton of stuff here about Jeff Bezos. Like, wow, this guy, right? From selling books online to basically like everywhere you look.
Yeah, it's easy to just see him as like the Amazon guy or the space guy, but
Right, exactly. There's so much more to it, though, right?
yeah,
Like, what makes this guy tick? That's what this deep dive is all about, like beyond the headlines.
absolutely. And I think you'll find some surprises along the way, like even how he got started.
Okay, so before Amazon, before he was like, Bezos,
Yeah.
who was this guy?
Well, all the stuff we read paints him as like this kid who just had to take stuff apart, always tinkering.
Classic, right? Like every inventor story starts that way.
Yeah, but it's more than that, I think. See, he spent summers on his grandparents' ranch in Texas, like real deal working ranch.
Oh, wow. So that's where that like work ethic comes from.
Probably, yeah. Like self-reliance, problem solving, that kind of stuff sticks with you.
Makes sense. Okay. And then he gets into Princeton, right? Aims for physics, no less.
And then switches to computer science. Early 80s, most folks didn't even have a PC.
Whoa, talk about being ahead of the curve.
He wasn't just following the hype, though. See, his Wall Street job, people forget that part.
Oh, right, right. Before Amazon.
Yeah, at D. Shaw, this
Yeah.
hedge fund.
Yeah.
They were all about math, like serious math applied to stocks.
Okay, so not just some suit pushing money around.
No, he was building trading strategies using like models and algorithms and stuff, cutting edge.
So that's where he got that like risk reward sense, right? That you need for, well, for anything big.
Exactly, and it all comes together later, but yeah, honed those skills early on.
Okay, so then the big moment, right? He sees this stat. The internet is growing something like
2,300% per year. It wasn't growth, it was like an explosion, totally unprecedented.
anyone paying attention had to see that was huge EE, right?
He saw the pattern and, more importantly, what it meant, like for business, for everything.
So he quits the cushy job, packs up with Mackenzie. They head to Seattle.
To sell books online. Out of their garage. I mean, talk about a leap of faith, right?
That must have been some conversation. Honey, I'm leaving Wall Street to sell books.
Yeah.
But on the, what was it, the World Wide Web?
Yeah. And they almost called it Cadabra. Did you know that?
Cadabra? Really?
Yeah, luckily someone pointed out it sounded like, cadaver.
Oh, yikes. So Amazon it is. Named after the biggest river, right? Fitting, huh? Like, that's the scale of his ambition.
Absolutely. And starting with books was smart. Huge market, easy to ship, and Bezos, he's a reader, always has been.
Building a business around your passion, not bad.
Not bad at all, but it wasn't easy. The competition was fierce back then.
Oh, yeah, the dot-com bubble, everyone going online, then it all crashed.
A lot of folks would have folded, but Bezos, he had this long-term vision. That's key.
While others were chasing quick bucks, he was building something to last.
Right, investing everything back into Amazon, the infrastructure, making it easy for customers.
And those innovations, like customer reviews, never seen before.
One-click buying, recommendations.
Yeah.
We take it for granted now, but that was revolutionary.
Made it so easy, so enjoyable. To shop online, change the game.
He knew convenience and trust were key, even if it meant less profit at first. He was playing the long game.
And then Prime, free 2-day shipping. Back in 2005, that was nuts. Expensive, risky.
But genius. Suddenly, everyone wants in on that instant gratification.
And Prime became the key to their whole ecosystem, right? Like movies, music, everything.
Exactly. Build a loyal customer base, willing to pay for convenience, and then you can offer more, lower prices.
The everything store he always talked about. But there's another piece, the one everyone forgets.
AWS, the cloud computing platform. Yeah, not as exciting as spaceships, I know.
But quietly, it became a huge part of their profit, like powering the internet itself.
This is Bezos seeing the potential that others miss. Something boring turns out to be essential.
So he's got this empire, billions reeling in. You'd think he'd be happy, right?
But there's this other passion simmering since he was a kid. Space.
Not just some rich guy's whim. He starts Blue Origin in 2000, way before space tourism was even a thing.
Goes back to those Apollo missions sci-fi books. It's deep in him, this drive.
Like he's two people, right? The business titan and the kid who wants to reach the stars.
And Blue Origin isn't just about rockets. It's about reusable tech, making space accessible.
Which ties into his whole belief that we need to expand beyond Earth.
Not just tourism, but survival, long-term thinking, like really long-term.
Whoa. Okay, so got to address the elephant in the room, though, right? The controversies.
Oh, yeah. The labor practices, the wealth, buying Washington Post. It's a lot.
Like, does success on this scale always have a downside? Is that the trade-off?
He's doing more philanthropy now, the Day One Fund, the Earth Fund.
But is
Do
it
it.
enough to balance it out? That's the question, right?
And then there's his legacy, stepping down as CEO in 2021, focusing on Blue Origin and other stuff. What does that mean? It's like we're only seeing the first part of the Jeff Bezos story, right? And we're all wondering, like,
Right.
what's going to happen next?
But what's Act Two going to look like, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about.
It is. And the internet itself is still pretty young when you think about it.
Yeah.
And Amazon, like, they've shaped so much of how it all works.
It's like watching an empire being built, but with data centers and delivery trucks, right?
Right, exactly. But like any empire, there's got to be some, consequences.
Yeah. What about all the stores that closed, jobs lost, towns changing because of this?
Disruption, classic disruption. The old way gets tossed out. Some win, some lose. It's always messy.
But who gets to decide the rules of the new game, right? Is it guys like Bezos with their vision or...
Should it be governments or us, like regular people? That's the tough question.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting, right? It's not just about Bezos himself, it's the stuff he set in motion.
When a company gets that big, it basically sets the rules for everyone else.
Think about small businesses, what we can even be UI. Like, our choices are made for us, almost.
Jobs, the whole way we work is different now because of this. It's complicated, no easy answers.
And then there's the Washington Post, buying that whole newspaper. Some people thought, what's he doing?
Vanity project, billionaire playing media mogul, right? But others say he saved it, like brought it into the modern age.
Kept it going as this, check on power, which is important.
It shows his ambition goes beyond just like selling stuff. He wants to shape how we think, the whole information landscape.
So conquer business, go to space, and he control the media. It's almost too much for one guy, right?
Yeah, ambitious. That's Bezos for sure. But he always sets these crazy goals, does what no one expects, thinks way further ahead than most of us.
The long game, like
Yeah.
decades, generations even. And that's what makes Blue Origin so fascinating.
It's still early days for all that, even with the rockets landing and everything.
Yeah, it's about setting up that future where we actually live in space, work there, but that's so far off.
Not about profit, it's about a legacy that lasts, longer than any one person.
He's playing chess while everyone else is doing checkers, 10 moves ahead, seeing things we don't even know exist yet.
All comes back to innovation, pushing the limits, always asking what if.
But that's where we got to be careful, right? Easy to get swept up in the new tech, the fast shipping, the space travel dream.
But we got to be informed too, like what are the ethics of all this? Demand answers from these companies.
We're all on this spaceship, Earth,
Yeah.
right? And Bezos is kind of in the cockpit. We got to pay attention to where he's taking us.
And speak up if we don't like it, but to do that, we got to understand him, his worldview, what made him this way.
Only then can we talk about the future we want, where tech helps us, not the other way around. So this guy started in his garage, selling books, right? Now he's launching rockets, trying to fix climate change. Owen Strent's a major newspaper.
Like a sci-fi story, except it's real and it affects us all.
This deep dive, it's not just a biography. It's about ambition, innovation, and what happens when one person has that much power.
It makes us think, question things, face the tough choices our times are throwing at us, right?
And it reminds us that we're not just along for the ride. Our choices matter. Our voices matter. We shape the future too.
Even if it's just one click at a time, right? That might be the most important thing Bezos, maybe accidentally, showed us.
Technology isn't good or bad on its own. It's a tool. And we decide how to use it, what kind of world we build with it.
That's well put. Yeah, Bezos' whole story, it's like a reflection of the internet itself, isn't it?
Started with that utopian idea, connecting people, sharing knowledge. Now it's this huge thing used for everything, good and bad.
And he's talked about that, the good and bad. He calls it the day one mentality, like always be hungry, keep experimenting like it's your first day.
But he also talks about the dangers of day two.
Day two, what's that? Day two, that's when things get stale. Companies get big, bureaucratic.
Okay.
They lose that spark, that willingness to try new things. They get comfortable, focus on protecting what they already have.
Yeah, I get it. Like playing it safe instead of pushing boundaries. Makes sense.
And Bezos, he sees that as a huge danger. Like success can be a trap if you're not careful.
Makes you wonder, is that why he stepped down?
Yeah.
Like to shake things up, make sure Amazon doesn't get stuck in day two.
Could be right. Maybe he felt he could do more. Start fresh with Blue Origin and keep Amazon on its toes too.
Interesting. So we've covered a lot about Bezos, his early life, Amazon, the space stuff. It's a lot to process.
It is, yeah.
What stands out to you the most?
Well, we started with this question, right? Like, is Bezos a good guy? Did he help the world, or is it more complicated than that?
Yeah, is he a hero or a cautionary tale?
Yeah.
You know, too much power, too much money, does that corrupt even with good intentions?
There's no easy answer, right? It's not black and white, it's all kind of gray. But by looking at his story, thinking about these questions, we learn something. We become better citizens, you know?
We make smarter choices about what we buy, the information we trust, all of that.
Exactly. And ultimately, I think we get more involved in shaping the world we want to live in.
So, like, everyone listening, as you go about your day, think about it. Your choices matter. What you buy, who you support, it all adds up.
Are we using technology to make things better, connect with each other, or are we just letting it use US?
Becoming like robots ourselves, just consuming, following algorithms?
Yeah.
That's a scary thought.
The choice is ours, always. And that's what this whole deep dive shows us, I think.
Bezos' story, yeah. It proves tech isn't inherently good or evil. It's a tool, and we decide what it gets used for.
Powerful idea
Yeah.
that it's on us to build the future we want, step by step.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me. It's been amazing.
Yeah, my pleasure. To everyone listening, keep learning, keep asking questions, and never stop pushing for a better world. See you next time.